REMAX Capital Properties this morning with my friend and colleague, Wayne Einhorn. Wayne he's from Canada, he's Canadian, and he lives in Florida, so he goes back and forth. So, what I always value is not just the fun that I'm able to have when I have my conversations with Wayne, but it makes me think very big just because of his experience. He's a real estate brokerage coach. You've been a real estate broker. And so I hope that our audience today gets as much value out of our conversation as I always do whenever we talk. So, Wayne, thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thank you, Stephanie, and it's a
Mhm.
real honor to be with real estate leaders. You and Steve and your whole team are leaders in Cheyenne, and it's a real privilege to be here with you today.
Well, I thank you for that. We've known each other for many years. He joined us one time, met us in person, on Steve and my anniversary, and so I got to meet our kids. They were just littles, but they came with us, and I later learned that he doesn't do that very often, so
And that
it
was a
was a wonderful
special dinner.
meeting.
I will never forget that dinner. I got to
Yeah,
sit beside Conrad and
uh,
meet the whole Prescott gang, and it was really
yeah,
special.
it was very fun, so thank you for doing that, and thank you for joining me today. We just wanted to talk about the value of real estate. So Wayne, as a coach, is always talking to us about, it's not an overnight thing, real estate. You need to think about it long term. And so I really enjoy how Wayne describes a lot of that. So, you ready to jump in?
Let's do it, Stephanie.
Let's do it. So, when we talk about the value of real estate, Wayne, what does that really mean? It's beyond just price. So, what would you share with our audience today?
Well, I mean, real estate obviously is a place where people live. It's where their family resides, right? It's where memories
Mhm,
are made, and I think that's really important, an important thing to look at, and
mhm,
particularly when you think about the window, if you will, of real estate.
mhm,
And so, I often ask people, how long are you going to be in the real estate market, so to speak? You maybe you went out, got married, maybe that was the impetus to buy real estate. Maybe it
mhm.
was you were starting a family, maybe that was the impetus to buy real estate. Maybe it's a new family. Whatever it is, you're jumping in for the long term, and you're buying something that, as you said, isn't just an investment. It's a place where your whole life is going to be centered, where memories are made.
Right. So you make all your memories. And so the value isn't just the dollar and cents. I mean, real estate can be expensive too. If someone gets in and they don't have any cash and their hot water heater goes out.
Yeah,
So it's really a
100%.
balanced.
Yeah, and I think, at the end of the day, Stephanie, and you know this from when you and Steve were younger, and I when I was younger. I mean, we had a really stretch to buy real estate, right?
Right.
And I asked people, let me say this, Stephanie, I have never talked to somebody who's bought real estate who said, "Oh, I wish I hadn't bought."
Right.
Everybody
Good
who
point.
buys real, well, everybody who buys says, "I wish I'd have bought more," right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Because, as you say, there's a stretch, but we talked about the memories. I think people really look to real estate to secure their financial future, right? It's
Right.
it's the bedrock for most American households in terms of anchoring their financial future.
Right, I agree with that. I know that when I was young, my grandfather would talk about different corners in his town, and he was born and raised here in Cheyenne, and he would say, "I could have bought that for whatever amount of money, and if only I had done it." And so there's a risk and a reward that comes along with real estate, but if you are consistent and you're used to paying your bills and you do your things, then the memories are far outweigh and the value of it far outweigh. I know with Steve and I, we've always kept our homes if we lived
Mhm.
in them. So we started out in a townhome and then we just would move up and we've kept those as rentals.
Yeah, that's
And so
great.
we're big proponents of that. So your value of your rentals, you can have stock portfolios or real estate portfolios, and they each have different trade offs. But so beyond just the price. So what about agents? If you're an agent, how do they explain that to their buyers and their sellers about the value of the real estate?
I think what happens, Stephanie, and if there's two different conversations, first of all, two different
Mhm,
objectives, right?
mhm,
Usually, if it's a seller, the seller has a short-term objective. They need to
mhm,
sell within 60 or 90 days. They've
mhm.
got something going on. They bought another house. Something's happening. They got to sell. And so
Right.
that's a short-term view. You have to be concerned about what's going on in the market today.
Right.
The buyer is a whole different conversation, and the reason it's a whole different conversation is as we said earlier, when people buy, I often ask people, well, how long are you going to be in the market for? And they go, well, maybe I'll be in this house 5 years. And I say, well, no, that's not what I asked. How long are you going to be in the market for? And the answer is, for most people, it's 50, 60 years, right?
Right.
And so at the end of the day, whatever you buy today, 50 years from now is going to be worth four, five, six times. And I think where people get stopped, Stephanie, where they get stuck, is they
Mhm.
look at small, incrementally small amounts of pricing today, and
Right.
they're not looking at the future. I remember, now I know a lot about real estate, right?
Right.
And I remember looking at a house, it was on the lake in this particular town. It was
Mhm.
the house,
Mhm.
and the seller wanted 569, and of course I know real estate. It was in my head only worth 539,
Oh.
and so I wouldn't budge. And my agent, who worked in my brokerage, who was a
Mhm.
friend of mine, let me cool off for a couple of days, and she came back to me and she said to me, look, back to what we said about the value of real estate, Stephanie. She said,
Mhm.
that's the first house I've seen you get excited about in my life. And she said to me, what difference is $30,000 going to make 10 years from now? And you know what? 5 years later, we moved out of that house, and I sold it for $1 million. And we had
Oh.
we had a great time. And she was right. But you see, I was too far in it, and I didn't realize. And I often say to people, hey, if you find a house you like, first of all, go out with your agent, find a house you like.
Right.
And at that point, of course, I don't want you to crazily overpay, but five or ten or $20,000,
Right.
this as young people, and that what we heard was, it's not timing in the market, it's time in the market.
Time in the market. I agree.
Right, and we didn't understand it, but now we understand it, because if you look back and say, well, how much was that townhouse that you and Steve bought? It
Mhm.
was a
Yeah, I'd
fraction
like
of
to
what.
I'd like to have that again. That'd be nice, but
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
not how it
but
is.
yeah, but at the time, if you were concerned about one or two or three or four, $5,000 in the price, and the
Right.
reality is, it really didn't matter.
Right. So I'm glad your agent brought you around to seeing some common sense, and you spent your other 30 and you increased by 40%, if my
Yeah,
math is
I am
quickly
too.
doing
God
right. But
bless her. She was a good.
that
She's a good agent. She knew how to
Mhm.
how to communicate with the buyer, me, who
Mhm.
wasn't being very smart at the time.
Kind of a stubborn little mule. Yeah, so if you're an agent, that's very important to understand that whole concept right now. I have talked to several agents recently, and there seems to be two mindsets. They listen to their customers like, well, people are nervous, people are this, government shutdowns, all the very short term ideas versus the whole we're in this for the long term. And so it's not like the stock market where you're watching it every day.
No,
It's
no,
just you
and
do it and you buy and hold.
well, and here's the thing: is you don't, if I've got stock in Nvidia, and Nvidia goes down, it has no functional utility for me.
Mhm.
Right? If my house goes down, it doesn't matter. I still enjoy the view. We're still having
Right.
Christmas and Thanksgiving there. And so the time that I have to be time in the market, I get to enjoy. And
Yeah.
the thing that we don't even calculate, Stephanie, is I don't have to pay rent. I'm paying
Right.
myself, right?
Right.
So I'm paying the mortgage down. Eventually the market goes up. It really is a no lose situation.
Right. Well, that's definitely how I feel about it also. So thank you. So then why is real estate one of the few investments where time truly works in your favor?
Well, it's funny. We often talk about inflation as a negative force. And generally, if we're talking about groceries or gasoline, people don't like to pay more. But
Mhm.
the reality is, real estate, inflation in real estate is a great thing, because it's what causes it. When the price of something goes up, that's called inflation. And
Right.
real estate continually outpaces inflation in the United States. I tell people, it is the drop dead, drop the mic, stop the clock, best hedge against inflation for American families, always has been and always
Right.
will be.
Right. Now you just said in the United States, does that hold true for Canada also?
100% North America. I mean, the
Okay.
economies function very similarly, right?
Okay.
It's a North America wide phenomenon. People, people love real estate. Home ownership in both countries is high. It's 60+% the rates of home ownership. You know,
So if you're an agent today, those are valuable things to share with your buyers and or your sellers.
100%. And here's the thing, Stephanie. I have a saying, and you've heard me say this before, and this is a message to the agents. And the reason I say this is to serve your buyers, right?
Mhm.
Is because they don't know. They're afraid, right?
Right.
And so what we have to do is we have to sell real estate before we sell houses. And
Right.
what I mean by that is sell the idea, if I'm in Cheyenne, Wyoming, of what did the last 20 years in Cheyenne look like? Well, I saw the graph. It looked pretty darn good,
Mhm. I know.
right? And so
Mhm.
you've got to sell them on the idea of real estate first, and then we can go look at houses.
Right. And I agree with that. With the banking, I have seen some charts lately. Like we are not at a high interest rate at 6%. With the cost of housing and the interest rate, it can become a big mind game. But ultimately, as home prices continue to go up, like I said, I wish I could go back to the cost of my townhome. But there will be a day when our kids will say, gosh, I wish I could go back to what you guys bought your house for, mom and dad, or
Well,
grandma and
and
grandpa, or whatever it is.
and here's where I think we sometimes go, we get in the ditch, Stephanie, is we hear something on the news or some economy says interest rates are high,
Mhm.
and our buyer hears that, and then our buyer starts talking about it, or it's not a good time to buy real estate,
Mhm.
and then our buyer starts talking about it. And here's the problem: as agents, we buy into their idea,
Right.
you know,
You
and
have to
and that,
choose what you feed your mind.
and what is your position? It's interesting because most agents, if you walked into you were talking about stocks and investing in stocks, Stephanie. If you walked into your stockbroker's office or your financial planner's office and you said, "Look, Stephanie, if you were my financial planner, what's
Mhm.
your position on the market?" And I ask agents that sometimes, and they'll say, "Well, interest rates are high or whatever." They don't have a position. Here's your
Right.
position on the market. There's three things in life that are guaranteed. Ready for them?
Ready.
It's death, taxes, and real estate in Cheyenne always goes up.
Right.
That's it. That's my position.
Mhm.
When's the best time to buy? Today. When's the next best time to buy? Tomorrow. That
Right.
is it, right? And that's what we have to get through to people, because nobody's going to thank you as an agent
Mhm.
if they don't buy today, and 10 or 15 years from now they got to pay twice as much,
Right.
right?
Right. Right. We've experienced some of that 2020, 2021 into 2022. The sellers still think that it's those prices. Buyers think they're going to get a deal. And so you really have to just pay attention and just go with your gut. You're just buying real estate, the long
Yeah,
term
yeah, and
wealth
it's a
building.
long-term investment, and you're not getting out of the market. It's not like I said with a stock. You may want to get out of the market. You may need the money for something. In real estate, even if your family expands and you need to
Hmm.
buy a bigger house, you're still in the market,
Right.
right?
You're
And
just
so
trading up.
yeah, it's you're trading at that level, but if you didn't buy, well, now you're way behind.
Right. That's a wonderful point. So many people are waiting for the perfect time. Speaking of
Mm.
the perfect time, many people are waiting for the perfect time to buy or sell real estate. So, what are they missing by focusing on that timing?
You're never going to get it right. I mean, gosh, I've been coaching real estate brokers across the country, and then which is means I get to see all the cities. I get to see all of the graphs, and it's in even the worst performing cities, Stephanie,
Right.
perform phenomenally. And so what they're missing is the opportunity to multiply their money. And if what I was going to say is I get to see all of that. If somebody can predict real estate prices, maybe they could do you and I a favor and message us personally,
Yeah,
because
that would be great.
yeah, because we could stop working, right? It's like,
Right.
hey, and so we can't. That's an impossible dream. And so what I
Hmm.
have to do is I have to stick with the fundamentals, right? And the
Right.
fundamentals are: if I need to buy today, if I have a need to buy today. If I need to sell, pay attention to the pricing, and get the property sold.
Right. If you can get your property sold, then you can get into a different property. And
Yeah.
that's what you were talking about, how it's a long term 50 or 60 years of buying real estate. You buy your first house 20 ish. You maybe are healthy and living on your own until 90, 95.
Yeah,
That's a long
today, yeah,
time.
today, and I guarantee you this, you're gonna look back just like our parents did and say, "Oh my gosh,"
Hmm.
I remember I bought a property that belonged to my grandparents. It was kind of special to me, and they had paid $3,800 for this
Oh,
lakefront home.
lakefront. Oh,
I won't tell you what I paid the family for it, but it wasn't $3,800. I can
right.
tell you that.
Yeah, and it's interesting, our generations before us, you're talking about your grandparents, my grandfather, he bought and flipped ranches. That's
Ah,
what he did, which is, the buying and selling of the homes and flipping those and doing that. He did that with ranches. And so you can learn a lot from your grandparents. Uh,
100%.
Probably good
And
and bad. We can all learn from them on some of the choices or opportunities that they missed.
yeah, absolutely.
Anything special an agent should be talking to their buyers and sellers about on that,
Well,
on the timing part?
yeah, I mean, I think if it's a buyer, you've got to be talking to them about selling, sorry, buying today. Move forward. Forget about
Mhm.
trying to predict if prices are going up or down because over time they go up.
Right,
And if I'm a seller, I think if we're talking to sellers, Stephanie, we've got to coach sellers. They again have a short term view, right? And so
right,
we've got to coach sellers to be conscious of the today's price. And to
right,
your point, what sellers want to talk about is what my neighbor sold for in 2021. Yeah,
right.
that is not relevant today, right?
Right.
What is you could tell us what the up to date statistics are in Cheyenne, but nationally, 1 in 4 houses are selling, and so sorry, 1 in 5. So 80% don't sell, 20% sell.
And when
If
you say don't sell, you mean they end up taking it off the market?
Well, they're taking a long time to sell, let's say
Taking a
that,
long
taking
time.
months and months and months and months to sell.
Mhm.
I mean, if you
Yeah,
go to states like Florida, Florida has 9 months, 8, 9 months inventory right now,
right.
right? And so if you don't wanna, if you don't wanna be in that 8, 9 month zone, or in the I know it's not quite that prolific in Cheyenne, but the point is if you're counseling a seller, you need to look at what's selling now, and you
Mhm.
need to be competitive with that.
Right,
And one
right.
other thing I'll say, Stephanie, if something isn't selling, there's only one reason it's not selling, and that is it's priced too high,
Yeah,
right?
that's
People say, well, the whatever. There's this problem, there's that problem. No, no, it's not priced right. Everything is saleable at the right price.
interesting. Interesting, because we do I just this week have seen more of the higher end homes going under.
Yeah,
And so that's refreshing to see. So that's a
100%.
that's a good turn here. So when we're talking about the real drivers of property value here in Cheyenne and Southeast Wyoming, we have a very stable economy. We're able to have the military, which keeps it stable. Data centers are starting to move into Southeast Wyoming. We have the Microsoft data center and the Meta, they're building their massive data center here also. We have the railroad, we have tourism, we have the state governments in here. And so we're very blessed in Cheyenne to have a stable economy. And so we haven't seen the fluctuations. I know I shared with you our home value chart.
Mhm,
And even in 2008, it took a very minor dip.
mhm.
So you'll get a little bit more stable and then you'll get some big spikes. And I know that you've seen that. But how does that compare uh, with what you see nationally and internationally, Wayne?
Yeah, Cheyenne is a phenomenal investment. I mean, if you think about it nationally, the southeastern states they tend to be very cyclical. So
Okay.
in the COVID market, everybody was moving to Florida and Texas and Arizona.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right now everybody's moving out of Florida, Texas, and Arizona. And I don't that's a little bit of a generalization, but those markets have a much more cyclical uh, they're impacted more cyclically. And what that means is you're going to pay more higher prices in a boom and you're going to take a bigger hit when things are slow. You don't have that problem in Cheyenne.
We
You have
don't, and it's very nice.
Yeah, and so you know if you buy today, you're going to have your investments protected, and it's going to go up over time. I mean, you can't beat it, and you need somewhere to live, and so why not just pay yourself?
Right. I think that's a great idea. I like that. I in preparing for this with you, I enjoyed looking at the stability of our market, the, really micro and then macro in comparison to the rest. Some of the other areas in Wyoming do take a little bit more hits with the boom and the bust, but it's been very nice to be here in Cheyenne and not have that. So thank you for sharing that. And then once you own real estate, Wayne, how can you protect and grow its values over the years?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, you want to maintain your asset and improve it, right? And
Hmm.
so and that's another value to real estate, Stephanie, is you might look at it and say, hey, wouldn't it be nice to have a new deck or a new addition or a bigger garage? And gosh, you're gonna have a contractor come put it on. You're gonna get that money back and then some, And so look after your real estate and improve it. That's what I would tell you to do.
It reminds me of the parable about the golden goose. Like, don't
Yeah.
kill your golden goose. If there will be equity there and you're building something, take care of it and maintain it. So that just enforces the idea of lifelong client care also for an agent. Like, they need to take care of their customers, and their customers need to take care of their asset, and it will become a big part of their wealth building plan as they go forward. So it becomes
Yeah.
really, in my opinion, part of a wealth building team, just like you have a strong banker and a strong insurance person.
100%. And if you're an agent, you want to be giving people feedback on pricing in the area, right? On what's
Hmm.
going on, and as you said, Stephanie, it's clients for life, right?
Right.
Not only do they buy, their kids buy, their relatives buy,
Hmm.
and definitely you want to have a client referral strategy. And one other thing that occurred to me, Stephanie, when you were talking about the stability of Wyoming,
Hmm.
really important. I sometimes get a little bit passionate about real estate, and I don't know if you picked that up today. It's important for agents to be passionate about it too.
Yes.
When
Right.
you got a secret, which you have, that can help
Hmm.
people build wealth, share
Hmm.
the secret with some passion. Get
Right.
behind it a bit.
Right. That's great. I love that. And, so today I just told you I wouldn't keep you on forever, but I just really wanted you to be able to share some of your wisdom and your knowledge with me and with our audience. And I thank you for that, Wayne. I thoroughly enjoyed talking about the value of real estate with you. And I hope you're enjoying. Are you in the cold area or the warm area today?
Well, we're headed to the warm spot soon, and so to our
Oh,
southern
good.
office, and I've got some work I've got to do down there. So we'll be looking at palm trees very shortly, and we're hoping, Stephanie, that
Nice.
you and Steve come by for a tour of our office soon as well.
It will be happening. I can promise you that. But hope you'll come back and share with me again. I thank you, Wayne, and I hope you have a wonderful day. And if
I'd
you
love to.
if anyone's watching this and has any questions, please just put them in the comments, and we will get the answers for you.
Stephanie, thanks for a great session today, and thanks for all you do for the real estate community and for the business community at large in Cheyenne. I know you are a force there and have a real impact on people. So
Thank
thank
you.
you for including me in that.
Thank you, Wayne. You have a wonderful day. Happy Halloween this week.
Yeah, you too. See
Okay.
ya.
Bye. Thanks.